Hello again. So, topic of today's video, to phytate or not? To phytic acid or not? Okay, yeah, phytic acid. So I want to talk about this. Because there are some with some concern about this anti-nutrient or nutrient or problem child thing. Okay, so what is it? Phytates, aka phytic acid, two sides of the same coin, right? The same thing, basically. If you read about phytates or you read about phytic acid, pretty much talking about the same thing in just a slightly different form. Phytates are this nutrient or anti-nutrient, as some say, found in plants, specifically legumes, beans, whole grains, but to varying levels. But those are the most probably phytic acid dense bad acids, right? So they, the concern is that because of this the form of phytates, phytic acid, they bind minerals. And so this propensity to bind minerals can mean potentially that you block the absorption of minerals when you consume them. And that has historically been a concern since the research that came out along these lines in the 40s. But it might be that that's only half the story. In fact, we know that's a very limited amount of the story, the tip of the iceberg, per the cliche. And so, the paleo community basically is pretty up in arms and against phytates in general. You'll read, at least most paleo resources that I've read come down against phytates. Let me give you some information as regards the HPA axis. I think phytic acid and phytates are a good thing as regards restabilizing the HPA axis. Here's why. Number one, the foods that you find phytic acid and phytates in are incredibly worthwhile substances and not something you want to 86 from your diet. They are nutrient dense themselves. When you look at the various effects that phytic acid or phytates have, the side effects, folks, are things like decreasing your risk of cancer dramatically. They're even used sometimes as a form of treatment for colorectal and other colon cancers. They appear because they actually cause an increase in natural killer cells. Those are white blood cells that we have that will fight against all sorts of nasty buggers. And they cause apoptosis in cancer cells, it's theorized. We do know, because, so what phytates are, they're the plant source of phosphorus. They have intercellular mechanisms where they can turn on and off different kinds of things. It looks like they might even heavily influence what's going on in the cell in some really positive ways. So that's something you don't want to miss out on in keeping them out of your diet. It also looks like, because of this ability for phytic acid or phytates to bind minerals, that actually helps you mop up cellular damage. So they prevent the hanging around of free radicals and oxidative stress on the cells. Well, can you think of something that you might like a little bit more for the HPA axis in terms of it's under chronic stress and being thrown off, and having a substance that's going to mop up or prevent oxidative stress. Hello, McFly. This is sort of a no-brainer. In that kind of situation, the situation of high levels of oxidative stress occurring, as happens with HPA axis dysregulation, you would want something that could prevent that or decrease that. And it's called phytic acid. So, don't keep it out of your diet. Don't worry so much about if it's going to block nutrient absorption either. It's a plant. It's found in plant. I mean, it's a constituent of plants. My guess is the research down the road will eventually show it's not a problem on this level. I mean, there has already been research enough to whet our appetites along these lines, in that they looked at women with osteoporosis, and the more phytic acid and phytates they consumed, meaning the more dense the diet was in phytic acid and phytates, the less bone loss they suffered compared to low phytic acid consumers. So this idea that, I mean, it's possible that the mechanism that they theorized, what could be happening is the fact that the body compensates in response to high levels of phytic acid in the diet and holds on to more calcium. It doesn't let the calcium go because it realizes, oh, this thing's gonna bind it more. And again, there is tremendous wisdom in the body. There's tremendous wisdom stored up in plants and in nature. And so I think down the road, it's likely that we'll learn more. I mean, as they research more about phytic acid and phytates, it might swing from being this anti-nutrient. I mean, it's already swung out of that category in a lot of circles to being actually something that's essential to our diet to prevent cancer. It also decreases your risk of cardiovascular disease. Hello, we've already talked about that as a risk factor going up as the stress to the HPA axis occurs. So again, it also looks like it stabilizes blood sugars and decreases the risk of diabetes. Again, hello. Wow, we have a substance that does that? Is it a miracle substance? No, it's in your plants, and it's in your whole grains and your legumes and your beans. So, my opinion, and it is my opinion, based on what I've seen and what I've read, I think it's likely that we'll learn more about it, and that it'll actually turn out to probably be even better than we think as regards health. So amp up the phytates. Amp up the phytic acid in your diet. You don't neglect those poor legumes and those beans and those whole grains. Stop picking on them, paleo people. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, as regards HPA axis, thumbs up on phytic acid and phytates in the diet. Adio.